Hello, everyone. This is Claire Weber and Kara McDaniel. Thank you so much for joining us as we explore our chapter on emerging technologies in instructional design and technology. This is a topic that is rapidly changing the way that we approach teaching and learning, especially in this digital age. We are doing this presentation for IT 830, Contemporary Issues in Distance Education at Emporia State University.
So we're going to talk about why these emerging technologies matter. These technologies can help shape the way that we learn, the way that we work, or the way that we communicate with others every day. As technology evolves, so do all of the different opportunities that go with it, especially in education. Instructional design has to evolve along with all of these changes, not just to keep up, but to truly meet the needs of all of today's learners. Emerging technologies can help us personalize, engage, and even transform all of the learning experiences that all types of students can encounter.
So, when we talk about emerging technologies, we're referring to tools like artificial intelligence, also known as AI, augmented reality, we call that AR, virtual reality or VR, and extended reality XR. These tools aren't just buzzwords, they're already impacting a lot of instructional design in ways that include interactive, immersive, and adaptive experiences to individual learners.
The first area that we're going to look at is AI use in education. So, with starting with AI, it's definitely more than just ChatGPT, though that is a large part of it. AI includes any computer system that performs tasks that usually require human intelligence. In education, that means that AI can offer adaptive learning, provide instant feedback, and even identify where students could be struggling before an instructor does. Tools like ChatGPT can assist with brainstorming, citations, and even generating practice questions. I know that as an educator, I use ChatGPT to help me when I am coming up with different ideas for my students, and it can be extremely helpful.
In today's classroom, technology is truly everywhere. And one of the newest tools we're learning to work with is AI or artificial intelligence. As a second grade teacher myself, I was a little skeptical for using this tool in the classroom, thinking things like, could AI really be useful for young learners, especially when they're 6 or 7 years old? But after exploring it more, I found that even when used thoughtfully, it can make a huge difference within the classroom. I've seen how AI can really enhance the learning experiences for my students. And one of the biggest advantages I see is the personalized pacing that AI tools can use to adjust to meet a child's needs. At our school, we use an application called IXL, which actually has certain pathways that students will take. And if they understand the concept, it will take them to a harder question. And if they don't understand the concept, it will take them back and even show them a video, helping them explain it more. It also supports me as an educator by offering ideas and generating materials, and also gives immediate feedback to those students. The application that I mentioned a little bit ago, IXL, automatically grades those students. So in the live classroom feature, I can see which students are struggling in that exact moment. Also within my classroom, during our economics unit in a second grade classroom, students create their own classroom stores. This year, I used artificial intelligence to help me write short, kid-friendly scripts that explained concepts like goods and services, wants and needs, and it saved me so much time and let me focus on having fun with the kids and hands-on parts of this lesson, which can be really difficult as an educator when you come to roadblocks with time and money constraints. But as helpful as AI is and has been in my classroom, it's not necessarily perfect. There are real concerns about things like misinformation, data privacy, and ethical use. Most importantly, it doesn't have emotional intelligence like an educator would, or empathy that we as teachers bring to the classroom. It can't recognize when a student is feeling overwhelmed, or when they need to celebrate, or when they need to take a break. So when AI is a powerful tool, I see it just as that, a tool to support our work and not replace the human in teaching.
So, now we're going to be talking about what the difference is between all of these different emerging technologies. We've kind of thrown around all of these words, but now we'll dive into what they are. So, augmented reality or AR, virtual reality VR, and extended reality XR are the three most popular emerging technologies. These are rapidly shaping the future of education and trainings, and understanding their distinctions is so essential as we consider how to integrate them effectively into all different types of learning environments. So, augmented reality or AR enhances the real world by overlaying digital content, such as images, sounds, or data, onto a live view of the physical environment. Think of tools like Google Glass or apps like Pokemon Go, where learners can interact with both their surroundings and a digital element at the same time. In the classroom, this might look like students pointing a tablet at a picture in a book to see a 3D animation or to hear a historical figure speak. Virtual reality or VR takes immersion even further. It places the learner in a completely virtual environment, typically using a headset. In VR, the real world is blocked out and learners are fully surrounded by a digitally constructed space. This technology is particularly useful for simulations such as virtual field trips, science labs, or role playing scenarios where students can safely explore those complex concepts or even dangerous environments they wouldn't normally be able to access. And then the last one, extended reality or XR, is kind of an umbrella term that includes both AR and VR and also incorporates AI to personalize and adapt experiences in real time. XR focuses on creating interactive, often intelligent environments where users can engage in highly responsive learning activities. This blending of real and virtual elements allows for new forms of engagement, collaboration, and personalization. Together, these technologies are transforming how learners interact with certain content. Instead of passively consuming information, students become more active participants in this immersive experience. Whether it's they're walking through ancient Rome, or they get to manipulate a molecule in 3D, or they're practicing emergency procedures in a virtual hospital, all of these emerging technologies can shift the focus from an observation to an interaction, which will lead to deeper engagement, stronger retention, and more meaningful learning outcomes.
So, as we mentioned previously, both Kira and I are K 12 teachers. I teach second grade, and Kira teaches third grade. And we're already seeing these tools being used meaningfully both in K 12 and higher education. In K through 12, apps let students explore places like Kira mentioned on the last slide, ancient Rome, or they even could go into space and use the solar system in an immersive way. Instead of just reading about planets, students can virtually travel through space to deepening their understanding and engagement. Augmented reality tools bring worksheets and objects to life, adding interactive 3D visuals right on students' desks. In higher education, virtual labs allow students to simulate complex science experiments like exploring cells or dissecting virtual specimens without needing physical materials. This obviously eliminates the cost overhead that many schools have an issue with. These technologies make learning much more engaging, much more accessible, and much more hands on, no matter the subject or the age group.
Another field that is seeing this rapid transformation through emerging technology is healthcare education and training. These emerging technologies are helping prepare future doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals in ways that were previously limited by cost, time, and safety concerns. In many nursing and medical schools, VR is now used to simulate real life medical scenarios, everything from patient assessments to emergency trauma responses. For example, students can enter a fully immersive ER simulation where they must stabilize a critical patient. These scenarios help them practice quick decision making, communication, and clinical judgment, all without putting real patients' lives at risk. According to our research, this kind of training builds confidence and competence more effectively than lectures or even mannequin based simulations. Augmented reality is also making a big impact. There's so many different tools that allow medical students to view 3D models of human anatomy overlaid on physical environments. Instead of just studying a textbook, a diagram of the heart, students can walk around a 3D beating heart, they can interact with it, and they can even see how it changes under certain conditions. This kind of layered spatial learning supports deeper understanding, especially for complex systems. We're also seeing how increasing the use of AI in healthcare training is changing it. This AI driven platform can assess students' performance in those simulations, it can track their decision paths, and provide personalized feedback based on clinical best practices. These systems help educate and help instructors identify where students need more support and allow for customized learning paths. All of this matters because healthcare is high stakes. So, when technology can provide repeated, safe, and realistic practice without any risk, it's a huge game changer for healthcare.
So it's not just education where emerging technologies are making such a big impact. The military has been one of the early adopters of extended reality or XR. They use VR based combat simulations to train soldiers in high stakes scenarios, just as we mentioned with healthcare, and this also eliminates the risk. For example, programs allow trainees to experience battlefield environments, practice decision making, and improve reaction time, all within a controlled, repeatable, and safe setting. These simulations offer real time feedback and can be adopted based on performance, which supports more personalized and effective training than traditional classroom methods when training military and industries. In industry, XR is revolutionizing how employees are onboarded and upskilled. This kind of immersive training builds confidence and prepares employees for real world challenges without the pressure of unpredictability or live practice. So, as instructional designers or future instructional designers, we are thinking of corporate training in this example. So, having the training be repeatable and the same for all employees is so important because this builds camaraderie as well as the same training across the board.
So, how does this all connect to instructional design? When designers integrate these technologies with popular frameworks like the ADDIE model, the results can be transformational. AI helps analyze learner data, AR and VR make instruction immersive, and all of it supports better outcomes when used intentionally.
Of course, there are some barriers. One of the biggest barriers being budget constraints, as well as instructor resistance if they're uncomfortable with the technology, as well as accessibility challenges. Ethical concerns like surveillance or bias, just having access to the tools isn't quite enough. We need thoughtful implementation by instructional design for other instructional designers to be utilizing these emerging technologies.
So, in order to overcome these challenges, we need to move forward with our professional development to build instructor confidence. We also need to make sure that we have backward design to align those tech with those learning goals. We need to have surveys and analytics to refine certain strategies. And then we need to make sure it's equity focused and all of the planning to ensure that everyone benefits from these emerging technologies because they will only work when it's accessible and purposeful.
For trends in the future, we're likely to see artificial intelligence acting as virtual tutors and assistants. I know in classrooms today, we already see the beginning trend of this, where students are given pathways for their independent learning time. I do believe that there will be more XR in classrooms, as well as digital credentials becoming more standardized across institutions. These trends could reshape how students learn and move in between schools and also their careers.
We do want to make sure that we are still moving forward with caution. There are still risks with academic integrity, being a big concern with AI generated content. Maybe there could be an over reliance on this tech that could reduce critical thinking. And there's also ethical frameworks that we need to be sure are safe and fair.
So, how do we design this for the future? We, as instructional designers, must be strategic, focusing on goals and not just gadgets. Let's design for inclusion, accessibility, and deep learning, not just novelty. And with that, instructional designers have a huge responsibility moving forward with these emerging technologies.
So, for our final thoughts, emerging technologies can make learning more personalized, immersive, and inclusive, but it's up to us as instructional designers to harness them responsibly. We are, in many ways, the architects of that future learning, and that's both exciting but also a very serious role to play.
Thank you so much for listening. That concludes our research and our chapter on emerging technologies.
Thank you for listening.